Hey, good looking. What have we got cooking? Before I say any of this, let me just put something kind of tasty and fruit-filled on the table. I'm not pretending I've got some elevated, untouchable vantage point here. I'm in the same kitchen as you, watching that same stovetop, hearing that same noise, smelling the same aromas, feeling that same heat. But if we stand still long enough and actually watch what's happening on our proverbial kitchen stovetop, there's something about all of this that starts to feel strangely familiar, almost theatrical, almost predictable. There's that old expression, the pot calling the kettle black. But what happens when both the pot and the kettle are being worked by the same heat? Same flame, same heat source, same pressure building underneath, and neither one is asking what's actually causing the boil. So instead you hear,
"You're corrupt."
No, you're corrupt.
"Well, you're dangerous."
No, you are the dangerous one.
and sure, we've updated the vocabulary. Now it's, you are a racist. You are a supremacist. You are a pedophile, a war criminal, a rapist, a Nazi. On and on it goes. Just heavier words, hotter words. Words that don't just accuse, they brand. But if we listen closely, it's the same old conversation, just louder. Meanwhile, the pressure builds. We can almost hear it. We can definitely smell it. That low, constant psst, not quite exploding, not quite settling, just enough to keep everything on edge. And then, every once in a while, we notice that something spills over. A headline, a scandal, a clip, a leak. And suddenly, the pot screams.
"See? I told you that the kettle was filthy."
And then the kettle fires back.
Oh yeah, look closer, dumbass. That horrific stench is coming from you.
But no one stops. No one steps back far enough to ask, why is everything boiling all the time? Because that's the part that strangely feels almost off limits to scrutiny. We'll debate who's dirty all day long, but we won't question the flame. What is this heat? Where is it coming from? Who benefits from keeping everything right at the edge of overflow? Call it a different kettle of fish if you want. But that doesn't change what's cooking, because here's the thing, that pot of boiling frogs doesn't boil itself. Because there's always something quite insidious actively working underneath. And while all of that is happening, the stovetop itself is getting covered. Layer by layer, with residue and filthy grime, with spillover, with baked-on crud, with burn marks. A mess that doesn't belong to just one pot or one kettle anymore. It becomes shared by all of us, global even. And then, here's what happens. After enough time, no one can quite remember what a clean stovetop even looked like. So now our discernment gets replaced. Not refined, replaced. Because it's easier to just listen for volume. Who's shouting the loudest? Who sounds the most certain? Who uses the strongest words?
"That one? No, this one here is evil. I must be the one seeing clearly, right?"
But this is exactly where things flip. That line of biblical wisdom. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil. That's an always timely warning for us about what happens when perception itself gets overheated. Because at some point, everything starts to look like everything else. And those labels stop revealing anything real. They just become weapons. Weapons used by those gaslighters. So now we've got a pot calling the kettle a Nazi or a pedophile, and a kettle calling the pot those same things. And both of them are completely convinced that they are the clean one in the equation. Meanwhile, the pressure keeps building. And then every once in a while, we'll hear something different cut through it. Not louder, not more aggressive, just clearer.
"We will know them by their fruit, not their words, not their labels, not their affiliations, not their political party, but their fruit."
Which is almost frustratingly simple, because it forces us to look over time at what is actually cooking. Noticing consistency, pattern, outcome, not just emotionally responding to empty performance or empty words. And that kind of discernment, it doesn't play well in a boiling, steamy environment. It requires stillness, it requires patience, it requires the willingness to admit, we might not be seeing this clearly yet. And that's not a popular posture, because it doesn't give us an immediate enemy. But it does something else. It slowly lowers the temperature. Because when we start looking at the fruit of what's cooking, we're not as easily pulled into the noise. We're not as easily triggered by the next spillover moment. We start noticing patterns instead of reacting to flashes and surges of the flame. And maybe more importantly, we start noticing something uncomfortable. The pot and the kettle might both be affected by the same heat. Not equally, not identically, but influenced just the same. Pressurized, shaped by something neither one fully controls. And that doesn't excuse anything. But it does change how we see it. Because now the question isn't just, who's right? It becomes, what's driving all of this? What keeps the boil constant? What keeps the accusations cycling? What keeps the entire stovetop in a perpetual state of chaotic almost overflow? Because if we never look at that, we spend our whole life switching sides between pot and kettle, and never once stepping back far enough to realize the entire system might be purposely misdirecting our attention. And then, in that ultimate metaphorical visual image, when those pots and kettles boil past their own abilities to even contain anymore, the flame goes out. Everything that was raging is suddenly still. And what's left? The residue, the marks, the stench, the actual condition of the pot and the kettle, without the noise. And maybe that's the part we always seem to try to avoid the most, because without the boiling, without the shouting, without the constant accusations, without the emotional reactions, we're left with something quieter, something harder to fake. What actually is cooking, and that's where that other line of great wisdom comes in. Come to me, all who are weary. Because honestly, trying to sort truth from lies in a room full of boiling voices can really wear you out. But stepping back, letting the heat settle, watching for fruit instead of noise, that's where clarity starts to return. Not all at once, but enough. Enough to see that maybe, just maybe, the real problem was never just the pot or the kettle. It was that unexamined flame underneath it all. And once we see that, we don't get pulled into every accusation so easily. We don't have to react to every label thrown across the room. We start asking better questions. Quieter ones, honestly, more dangerous ones. At least more dangerous to those gaslighters anyways. And from there, we might finally begin to see what's actually been cooking this whole time.